My name is Trevor Lawrence, former Secretary Treasurer of Teamsters Local 638. I say former because I'm retiring, and I will introduce the person that's going to replace me pretty soon. But before we start, I wanted to let you know that we are here for a little pension seminar, which we do every 2 years. We have a good group of folks here with a lot of information. First of all, we've got Qantas Hall from UPS Corporate Office. Qantas is over on that side over there. Okay. Then we have Stuart Matson from Empower, your 401k folks out here. Mike Mullane from the Central States Pension and Team Care. And Robert Dobler from Wilson McShane. They do our health insurance for the full-timers. So we'll do a presentation. Everybody will do a presentation. They'll have questions. You can answer. They'll answer your questions that you may have. So with that, I will turn it over to Scott Lacey, who is the new Secretary Treasurer of Teamsters Local 638. So let's give Scott a hand.
Need to give me a hand. He did all the work. I just got up in front of you. Hey, welcome. Welcome for all the members, future retirees. We all like to lock that thought in, huh? We got local 638 here. We also have local 120 and 346 was invited here. So we've got up here in front of you business agents and officers for 638, John Keychek. I know Steve Saviola was out in the table handing out the packets. Damone Edie was here. Now he's running around. Smile. He's looking for pictures to post on the website, maybe on Facebook later. Scott Wilkie right here, just taking care of the presentation. And with that, he is also recording today's seminar. So in the event that you either want to go back and look at something that you had a question about, or you wanted to see it again, or you wanted to check and make sure that you heard it right, or you have fellow coworkers that just couldn't make it today, this will be available, once all the editing and once everything gets put together. So we're good there. Want to thank Local 120 for allowing us to use this accommodation again. We wouldn't be able to fit this many people into the University Avenue convention, the hall there, the meeting room that we have there. It would just be too compact. So we got a little bit of room to be able to stretch out. I know I did see Bill Wiedebrand in here wandering around somewhere. So thanks, Bill. I know Scott Cruna was supposed to be here. I haven't seen him, but he is here. Okay. All right. What do we have any members from Local 120 that are in here today? Anybody possibly from 346? They were all invited as well. So, all right.
Good that we can talk about them.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for bringing their spouses as well. Those of you that have your spouses here, it's absolutely good information, and it's extremely important that it's teamwork between husband and wife as well, in order to make sure that you get all your ducks in a row and get everything in place, and what your retirement holds for you. So you bring your spouse. That means you don't have to explain everything when you get home. So you just saved yourself a couple hours worth of work. I want to recognize Trevor. Trevor was up here and just got this whole thing started. And congratulations on his retirement. I think in some ways, I think Trevor's a little bit of a slow learner, because this is his 5th retirement seminar. So he's still don't get it. He's been taking a lot of notes, but we want to, this event would not be possible without Trevor. Trevor has the contacts, and the people that you will be presenting today have all been closely associated to Trevor for some of them for many years, a few of them not that many, but he is responsible for building relationships and being able to make this event possible. So the 2012, 2016, 2019, 2022, and now 2024. And we just want to thank Trevor for, this is the only local that I know that we've been able to find nationwide that does something like this. So you guys have the ability to get some information that nobody else does. And so thank you, Trevor, for putting this on. And I want to thank the presenters that are here that a few of them have done this before and a couple of them their first, and it's time well spent for you members, and we appreciate the fact that you guys have taken time out of your Saturday as well, and some of them coming from different parts of the country, so they're not just down the road here. So these individuals, I mean, they'll give you an in-depth look at what to expect from the plans that they're going to present to you today. So they are the subject matter experts. They are the ones that know this stuff inside and out. So if there's any questions that you have, they're the ones to answer it. You know, the most important thing you can do about preparing for your retirement is to put a plan in place. That's if you have not started one already, now's the time to do it. Hopefully, most of you are already on that road, and you're just kind of trying to figure out how to put those final pieces together. So that's the most important thing you can do. And talk to your coworkers and talk to your kids. The earlier you start, the better off you are. Compounding interest is so powerful in all these plans that the earlier start that you get, it just makes such a huge difference in where you're going to land and where you're going to end. So following our presentation today, there will be food in the lobby, so make sure that you grab something before you leave. Well, thanks Mr. Saviola for setting that up. So he's got that all taken care of, and then of course myself, the rest of our staff, everybody will be available afterwards if you have any more questions as well. So I guess with that, we'll start out. The first presentation will be Wilson McShane, be Robert Dobler, who will cover the local 638 full-time UPS health and welfare plan, and then we'll move on to Central States Pension, the team care piece of it from Mike McShane. Stuart Madsen has the Empower presentation for you on the 401k side, and then we've got Qantas Hall from UPS Pension that's going to wrap things up for us. So prepare yourselves for an awful lot of information, and hopefully be educated on what you have to look forward to in the next couple hours.
Thanks, Scott. Good morning, everybody. Really great turnout. I think if I counted right, just under 200 or so here. Really great turnout. I'm disappointed no one from 346 came down. I'm from Duluth. That's where my office is. I'll talk about that in a little bit as well, but that's all right. I'll still talk to you folks. You all look very fine and willing to learn. So I am Robert Dobler. I work for Wilson McShane Corporation. Yeah, we do got it up over there. And then like as Ben mentioned, this is recorded, and you'll get a version of this that's been edited up on YouTube at some point in the future. But so Wilson McShane Corporation, like Scott mentioned, we are the third-party administrator for the full-time UPSers for the health plan as an active member, and then as a retiree as well. We'll focus kind of on the retiree aspect of this. So we are the third-party administrator. What we do is when you are a working member, we receive all those weekly contributions that UPS is required to pay in on your behalf. And then based on those contributions, we calculate and determine your eligibility in the plan. And then we also interface with all the different vendors that are associated with the 638 Health Fund. And that includes Blue Cross Blue Shield. We use Blue Cross Blue Shield for their network access, one of the largest networks in the nation. And so you have availability to basically every hospital and every doctor that's here in the metro area, and certainly in the upper Midwest. And OptumRx is who your prescriptions run through, your pharmacy benefit manager, and then Delta Dental for your dental, any of your dental needs there. And then so when I say Blue Cross Blue Shield, use them for the network, I want to clarify that we pay the claims. The health fund And Wilson McShane pays the claims, but we utilize Blue Cross just for their network access. So they are not the ones that determine if you are, if a certain claim necessarily is going to get paid or not. That kind of falls on us and the board of trustees that runs this plan. So Wilson McShane is headquartered in Bloomington, about a half hour south of here. We do have offices throughout the upper Midwest, with a little spot in Vegas there for one of the funds that we administer. And like I said, I'm out of our Duluth office. So feel free to stop on by. We work in the Labor Temple, got a great view of Lake Superior up there. And you know, we're a dedicated team, always here. It's service first is what we strive, and always service excellence is our motto. And when you call us, you're going to get a live person every time, or a live person will certainly call you back. You don't have to hit 1, 2, 3, and 4 to try to get to somebody. And that's something that we have always maintained and always will maintain as a company at Wilson McShane. There is, if you want to get digital, you can go to Teamsters Local 638health.com, and that's where you can log in. Here's the landing page for that website. And then if you haven't logged in before, you can create a login. You'll just need your social, your date of birth, and your name, and you create a login, email, and password. And then here, when you do log in, it kind of shows you, I know it's tough to see here, but essentially it's a rundown of your eligibility, of what you've been eligible for, where your last contributions either came in either as an active member from UPS or as a retiree, to say that we received your self-payment for retiree insurance. And then there's a few other links. There's a lot of information, documents, plan documents, applications, and forms that you can all access on this website as well. I will take questions. I actually prefer if we do it towards the end there. So if you got them, write them down now, and then we'll, at the end of my presentation here, I'll take anything that you got. So let's get into the retiree program here. So we're talking about non-Medicare or early retiree program. So non-Medicare, it typically means 65 or 65 or younger. There are instances where you can go on Medicare before 65, but we at any point in time, if you're not eligible for Medicare, you are eligible for the early retiree program. If the 3 bullet points that we have listed there, you're eligible to collect a pension from Central States or the UPS pension plan. You make the self-payments timely before the coverage is initiated. So that means before the 1st of every month of when your coverage is scheduled for. And then the 2 age requirements. If you want to go at age 50 or before 55, I should say, really, you need 20 years of service in the plan. So, or at age, if you wait till 55, there's no prior service requirement. You can just retire anytime after 55 within the Teamsters 638 retiree plan. And then based on when you do retire, there are different premium brackets, and these are locked in place when you retire based on your age. So the longer you wait, the cheaper it gets. So it is worth it to wait. I'll say even at age 50, it's very cheap. This is this is not the cost of what it takes to be a retiree on the plan, right? $350 as a 50-year-old for the rest of your pre-Medicare life. So if you go at 50, you go to 65, 15 years at $350 a month, that's really, really cheap insurance, and you're getting really, really great coverage. So, if you're sitting next to someone at the bar and you say, I pay $350 a month for my retiree coverage, they might swat you because they're probably paying double or triple that. Then if you wait till age 60 there, you're paying $250 a month. And that's for the medical and prescription coverage. If you want to opt into the dental and vision as well, it's another just shy of $155 a month there, as listed on the bullet point. And then again, reiterating, you are locked in place based on the premium when you retire. So if you go at 50, you pay $350 a month until you are Medicare eligible. If you wait till 60, then you pay $250 a month until you are Medicare eligible. The application process is actually pretty easy. You just call us. And like I said, you'll get a live person on the phone and say, hey, I work for UPS, or I'm local 638. I'm looking to retire. They'll get you connected with our retiree eligibility accounts receivable team. Someone over there will help you out. Stephanie Malone, she's one of the lead folks there. She's really great at what she does. I was just chatting with her yesterday to make sure I had all the right information because she's the one that knows it even more than me, even though I am the subject matter expert. Somehow she knows more than me. But what you'll do is we'll get you an application mailed out to you. We can even email it to you if you want to, but then you get that filled out. And then you can either select to send in a check every month, or we do have ACH options available. So we can just direct debit from your account every month to make sure that that premium comes through. And then that's about all you need to do to become a retiree here with the 638 plan. This is just an example of what the letter looks like when we send it out to you. It'll just kind of say, you know, hey, it looks like you're ready to retire. Here are some of the requirements. You need to do X, Y, and Z. And then attached to this will be the application here. The next slide actually is not the application. This is just an example of what Qantas and her team would send you for the UPS pension plan. It just kind of says, here's your pension, you are awarded this. There's different versions of this based on the type of pension you're eligible for or going to attain. But, you know, this just kind of gives you an idea of this is what we're looking for beyond just the application that you're going to fill out. We're going to need this award letter from your pension plan. And if you have any questions, obviously give us a call and we can help you out to determine what it is that we actually are looking for. Or if you're not getting the right information, we have contacts as well to help you out with that. This is the actual application. Again, I know it's really tough to read, but you'll get it in person here when you're ready to retire. But it just kind of goes through, it's going to ask, you know, who you are. It's going to go through the requirements to make sure, again, that you are meeting all the necessary requirements based on your age. You are actually retiring, you're receiving a pension. And the like. And then lastly, on the bottom of the page there, you will select what type you want based on your age. And then it's going to list that premium. So you can, you know, get the, let's see, I can't even read that. Get my readers on. So I see, it's just split down by age. There you go. Oh yeah, so 50 to 54 plus or minus the dental and vision, and then so on and so forth. So you just check the right box. And then on the next page here, this is just a version of the direct. If you want to do an ACH debit authorization, so you just fill in your checking account and routing number for us, and then we'll get that set up so that every month you don't have to worry about it. We'll just pull it from your account on or near the end of the month, so you have coverage for that following month, first of the month. Retiree program. So we've talked about here's how you go from being an active member to retiree. You do have an option to opt out if you're not ready to go on this retiree insurance, because if, for instance, maybe you can be covered under your spouse's insurance for a brief amount of time while she or he continues to work. And, you know, from a cost perspective, maybe it makes sense to stay under that. You can opt out. You need to let us know, though. Give us a call, say, hey, I retired. I'm no longer working at UPS or wherever, and say, but I do not want to go on the retiree insurance. I want to opt out. We have a form that you can fill out, and then we can keep it in our files so that when you are ready to come back on to the retiree insurance, you can say, hey, remember me? I opted out a few years ago. I'm ready to come back on here now. Let's say you wanted to wait till age 60 or something to pay that $250 a month. Give us a call a few months in advance, please, to give us some time to get everything set up, to give yourself time to fill out the application, and then we can get you back in. You do have to show proof of coverage, that you had that coverage continuously. It cannot just be like, I didn't have insurance for the past 4 or 5 years. You have to have had insurance of some form, group health insurance, but once you provide that proof, fill out the application, we can let you opt back in and go through that process to become a retiree. The coverage, excuse me. So like I've reiterated here, the coverage is for medical and prescription as the base premium. And then if you want to add in dental and vision, it's not a dental and or vision, it's dental and vision for that $154.95 a month additional to get that extra ancillary benefits there. The benefits themselves, you know, deductibles, co-insurances, co-pays, all that is the same as if you were an active member, except you do no longer have access to the short or long-term disability benefit, and the life insurance benefit also goes away. So basically, we core you down to the core basic functions of the health plan of getting your medical and prescription, and then potentially the dental and vision if you want to opt into that as well. So the next couple of pages here, I'm not going to go into too in depth here. This is the summary of benefits and coverage, the SBC as it's called. Everyone should be receiving these once a year. We mail them out near the end of the year in that November, December time period. So hopefully you are getting them. If you're not, give us a call. Maybe we got a bad address for you or something. But this just kind of goes through what that plan is as an active and or retiree. You know, like I said before, this plan, I've never seen such a, you know, this is the best plan that I work on by far. I work on a lot of different health funds, Wilson McShane here as a third party, and to have a $100 deductible, 500 out-of-pocket max, that's good for you guys. You guys have earned it. You worked hard, and this is what you have certainly earned. So, and then you got the local pays there in the middle for the prescription drugs, depending on the type, generic, brand, or non-formulary and whatnot. And then I'll just kind of skip through the rest of it just to say that it's a 10% co-insurance after you have hit that $100 deductible. And then once you've hit 500, then you're done paying for the rest of the year. So termination of coverage. So you worked, 20, 30 years as a UPS driver. Now you've retired with us because you are not 65 yet. Then there is a point in time where we kind of part our ways. Unfortunately, it's been good to know you, but coverage will terminate based on the following various events here. Either you don't make a payment, so that's why we encourage to do the ACH debit so that you don't forget to cut a check to us at some point in time. You know, we can just take care of that for you. So assuming the money's in there, we will keep you covered. Or if you go back to work, if you're like, I didn't like this retirement life, I want to work for a few more years back at UPS, then obviously your retiree coverage will go away as well. And then most importantly, and I want to make sure I reiterate this a few times, is once you become Medicare eligible, coverage ends. Once your spouse becomes Medicare eligible, coverage ends. If the member becomes Medicare eligible and the spouse is not, coverage ends. Okay, coverage is driven by a lot by the member. So if the member turns 65 and your spouse is still 60, coverage is terminated for the member and the spouse. Okay, the spouse is not allowed to continue on in their retiree plan, even though he or she has not turned 65 yet. Okay, so make sure you understand that once the member becomes Medicare eligible, all coverage terminates. You do have an option to COBRA that spouse, or any other eligible dependents, say kids under 26 or something. You can COBRA, but that's, you're talking, and you're allowed to do that for up to 36 months. So about 3 years. That's about $1,700 a month. So, obviously a significant jump, but that's the cost of COBRA. There we're talking about what the cost of coverage actually is. That's what COBRA is. So when you're paying $250 a month, your actual cost is about $1,700 a month. And so everyone that's working now as an active retiree, you're paying for that future coverage, which is great. But just reiterating again, if the member becomes Medicare eligible, the spouse and any other eligible dependents are also terminated from the plan. We do help bridge you into that Medicare side of life. Once you become eligible for Medicare, actually 90 days before you turn 65, we will send you a letter saying, hey, looks like you're getting about at that age. Here's some things you need to do. Here's some things that the plan offers. But if you choose to do this, this Medicare supplement plan, once you sign up, we kind of wash our hands, and then it's just kind of you and Blue Cross Blue Shield at that point in time. But we do help you at least get onto that plan. And what the 638 health plan offers is through Blue Cross and Blue Shield, it's called Senior Gold and Group Medicare Blue RX. You need to be signed up for Medicare Parts A and B. So make sure you get that done before you turn 65. And then we'll send this letter out to you. And if you want to continue on with this Medicare supplement plan, which is a straight up, it supplements anything that Medicare doesn't cover. So it's really good coverage. But we'll let you know about 90 days in advance. And if you want to do that, you fill out the application, you get that into us, and we pass on Blue Cross Blue Shield. And then from then on, you are responsible for making that payment to Blue Cross Blue Shield Senior Gold directly. That's where our relationship ends. But so just so you know that debit that we were doing as a pre-65 retiree, that stops. And then now you need to make sure you get things set up appropriately with Senior Gold. This is the letter that we send out to you. Like I said, about 3 months in advance. We track that on a monthly basis, and anytime we recognize that someone's about to turn 65, we will shoot this out to you. And this just kind of explains, here's the steps that you need to do. Here's what's going to happen. Your coverage will terminate with us on this date based on your age. And then if you want to, you can sign up for the senior gold. Right now, the cost is $385 per person per month. So if it's a member and a spouse, that's $770 a month. But this is Medicare supplement that's supplementing the Medicare Parts A and B that you would also have at that time. This is just the second page of that, so we don't need to get into this. Summary. So basically what we've kind of talked about is you go from active to a non-Medicare retiree, and then you become a Medicare retiree, and what are those little steps in between, and what does it take to become each and one of those? We are always available to help. Definitely call us at any point in time, Wilson McShane. We've got a 952 and an 800 number. Call us at any point in time. Well, not any point in time. We're not here Saturdays and Sundays, I guess. But yeah, we're absolutely willing to help you out, answer any questions that you've got. And yeah, we definitely love working with you guys and through retirement as well. So again, my name is Robert Dobler. I'm the fund administrator. So me and Cullen Garrity, you may know him. He's typically the other guy that's been here, but he had to take his kids to Mexico for spring break, I guess, this year. Oh, shucks. Yeah. So he kind of put me in his place, but I work really closely with this fund as well with Trevor and the rest of the crew here. So I'll take any questions at this point in time. I think I kind of got through this a little bit quicker than I thought, but that's all right. Question is, what happens if the member retires, is on the retiree plan, and the member dies? What happens to the spouse's coverage? We will give you 60 days of coverage and no cost, but then you have to COBRA and find something else. You can either COBRA or find some other coverage at that point in time. So that's the retiree side. But the Medicare supplement plan, the question is, what's that cost? So for this senior gold that we offer, you're allowed to shop and do anything you want, but what we offer as an option is the senior gold, which is medical and a prescription coverage is $385 per person per month. So if it's you and the spouse, $770 a month. The question is, if you have an HSA, can you use that to pay your retiree premiums? And the answer is yeah. HSA retiree, or I should say any kind of medical premium is what's considered an eligible expense through an HSA, HRA, FSA, anything that you have. Now you have to coordinate to get that money to us, but yes, that is an eligible expense under the HSA rules. Question is, if the spouse is working and has her own coverage, his or her own coverage, and the member retires, it'd be the same as an active member where the spouse's coverage will always be primary, and then the coverage that's available through the 638 plan will pay secondary for the spouse. No. Even as an active or as a retiree. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Robert. Next, we'll have Mike McShane from Central States covering the team care piece.
Good morning, everybody. Before I begin, just introduce myself. My name is Mike McShane. I'm from the Central States Pension Fund and Team Care. Can I just see a show of hands? How many guys in here are from UPS? All right. How many guys aren't here from UPS? Okay, we have a couple. Okay, good. And the UPS guys, how many are full-time? And how many are part-time? Okay. When it comes to the healthcare piece, when we're talking retiree coverage for the part-time guys, that's going to be us, Team Care. Wilson McShane just covered it for the full-time UPS guys. So just to point out the difference. Yeah.
Unless there is somebody from South Dakota.
Got it. And
services too.
Correct. Correct. So North Dakota and covered services are with Team Care as well. On behalf of our board of trustees, I just want to congratulate you all on getting ready for retirement. I think putting the 25, 30, 35, 40 years, whatever it's been, has been the hard part. This should be the easy part. Just to give you some background, Central States has paid out over $86 billion since 1955 to Teamster retirees, over 660,000 Teamster retirees in that time frame. The longest retiree in the fund has received benefits for 603 months. They retired when they were 50 and still drawing benefits 50 years and 3 months later. The oldest retiree is 107 and is one happy guy. This is Fred Zamora. He's 107. And we call him before the first of every month just to make sure he's still around to get the benefit. For those in UPS, you know that eventually part of your pension will eventually come from Central States. So for those that are part of that transfer group in 2007. So just to give you some historical points on Central States today. Today we sit with $41 billion in net assets, currently 98.5% funded, and on pace to be fully funded by 2026. Because our funding is so well today, our assets are invested safely into conservative bonds, and we have no assets in the stock market. The reason this is important is for any of us who are going to be 107, 30, 40 years from now, the pension fund has to be around to be able to pay that benefit. And the pension fund is now in very good shape after the American Rescue Plan Act and the special financial assistance we received. So there's two Central States pension application processes here. So for those in UPS, I'm going to defer that. Qantas Hall is here from UPS, and she's going to walk you through that process. For the non-UPS guys, so ignore this. UPS employees will file benefits directly with the UPS IBT full-time plan directly, and Qantas will walk through that. For non-UPS members here in Central States Pension Fund, you can file your application directly with Central States online. And again, this is for non-UPS. If you come to our website, mycentralstatespension.org, it's very simple. There's two things you can do. What is my pension? It can calculate the benefit for you. And you want to apply for your benefit. It's a very simple process to fill out the application online and submit that to the fund. For our fund, we ask you to fill that out about 3 to 6 months in advance, just to make sure all the dogs are in line and you're ready to go when you do actually retire, so we can get a check to you the first of the month. With that being said, we get applications on the 30th of the month with the member looking for a pension check by the 1st, and it just doesn't work that fast. So please get those applications in early. I do want to talk about this a little bit, and I think Qantas is going to also mention this. But for those that are married, you will have a decision to make when it comes to your pension. And for UPS guys, whatever decision you make, that decision will also apply to your Central States portion of the benefit when we begin paying when you turn 65. There's two options you have if you're married. There's actually three options. One option is do nothing, and I'll talk about that in a second. The other two options are the surviving spouse options, where your spouse will either get half of your pension or 75% of your pension. And the way it works is pretty simple. You take the full pension amount that you're entitled to. There's a reduction factor to be able to pay your spouse either 50 or 75%. And then that determines what you're going to draw. So the adjustment factors are all based on age. So if you're and your spouse are close to age, the reduction factor is going to be a little bit less. If you're 60 and your spouse is 21, that reduction factor, there might be some benefits to that, but the joint survivor isn't one of them. So that reduction factor is going to be a little bit different. So I just use this as an example, taking somebody just to show the math. A member's full benefit is $1,000. And again, this is just based to show you the example. If I was to take the 50% option, the reduction factor there is 0.878, meaning the member is going to receive $878. And then if he passes away first, or if the member passes away first, the spouse will receive half of that pension. And it works the same on the 75% option. The only difference is the reduction is a little bit more because you're providing 75% of the pension to the spouse. And in this case, the member's benefit would be $827. The spouse would receive, wait, did I do the math right there? I did not do the math right there, sorry. Those should be switched. Sorry about that, I just noticed about that. So the first example should be the 75% example, and the second should be the 50% example. Now, one of two things are gonna happen once you do retire. Either the member's gonna pass away first, or the spouse is gonna pass away first. If the member passes away first, then the spouse gets half or 75%. If the spouse predeceases the member, then the member's benefit goes back up to the full amount, right? So if by chance the spouse passes away first, the member's benefit goes back up to the full amount. Sorry about that, and I'll get the deck fixed so that if we're sending it out, we at least make sure we have the columns right on here. Now, the third option is do nothing. And in those cases, if you do nothing, the spouse under the Central States Plan, I think it's the same under UPS, and Qantas will verify that, but the spouse is guaranteed a payment during the first 60 months, which is 5 years. So if the member lived 10 months on pension and you didn't elect any of these options, then the spouse would get the full benefit for the next 50 months. So for a total of 60 months. If the member lives more than 60 months on benefits and you didn't select one of these options, then the spouse's pension is zero after the member passes away. So this is a decision you'll need to make between, every couple is different, depending whether you have life insurance, whether you can get a life insurance policy that might be more beneficial than this, whether you have money in a 401k. Everybody's situation is a little bit different. So 5 points: submit your application, enclose your legal documents. If you're married, you're gonna need to select one of those options, name a retirement date, and then just live to 107, and you'll keep getting your check every month. So now I want to switch to the healthcare part, and I think it directs those people that are in team care. So for the part-time guys and the other members who are part of team care, the health plan for the UPS part-time retirees comes out of team care. And it works very similar. A lot of what Wilson McShane covered works the same way in our fund. So you draw your benefit until age 65 or Medicare for both the member and the spouse. Coverage is also provided for dependent children to age 25 if a student. And under our plan, the retiree plan includes your dental and vision. It's all covered under the one cost. When you do go to retire, UPS will notify us of that. And I'll show you the cost for this in a second. But under our plan, once you get your retirement from UPS, they will send that information to Team Care, and we will start your plan unless you tell us not to. So in the past, we used to have an application process that you would have to complete, submit to us, and 95% plus we're always taking the coverage. So what we do today is, just to make it easier for the members, is once you do the application process through UPS and you name your retirement date, that information gets sent over to Team Care, and then we will start your health insurance, your retiree health insurance under our plan. The cost is a little bit different than the Wilson McShane plan. Under our cost, it's $200 if you're a single person, or $400 a month if you're a family. And that covers your medical, prescription, dental, and vision. So it's a lump sum cost that covers everything. Now, if you're not in UPS, it's a little bit different. The main difference here is the age requirement. If I back up, the age requirement with UPS part-timers is age 55. For non-UPS, the age requirement is age 57. There is a contribution requirement as long as you've been in the health fund for 5 out of your last 5 years, or 7 out of your last 10, and you have 20 years under the CBA. The monthly cost for non-UPS retirees, I'll share in a second, but it is different than the cost for UPS. So for non-UPS retirees, the cost is here. It's less the closer you are to age 65. And it's more if you do take your retirement as early as age 57. It's $581, and those costs, just to be clear, are per person. So if you're a non-UPS in Team Care and you retire at age 60, for example, and you're married, you're going to pay $363 for you and $363 for your spouse. Some of the other things that Wilson McShane covered also apply here. Again, the age 65 or Medicare, once you turn Medicare, you will come off our plan. The difference under our plan for a younger spouse is we will continue coverage on the younger spouse until they turn 65 or they go on Medicare. So if the member is 65 and the spouse is 62, we will cover that spouse for another 3 years until they turn 65 at that $200, $400 level. In that case, it'd be $200. So that was probably the only difference between our two plans here. Our plan is different in terms of the benefits that we offer. I did mention dental and vision are all included in the plan. Ours is an 80-20 plan, deductible of $100, out of pocket of $1,000. And under our plan, the annual max is $350 per person per calendar year. And again, if you do retire and you are in Team Care, once UPS notifies us, when your active coverage ends, your retiree coverage will begin. And you will get a letter from us saying that you are entitled to the retiree coverage. We hear you retired effective October 1st. If you don't want it, send back there's a form you'll get, and you can send back to either postpone your coverage or just say, I don't need it, I don't want it. This information is all up on our website. So at myteamcare.org, you can go in, and if you just Google UPS retiree or part-time, even the term part-time, you'll be able to pull up our plan benefit profile. For those non-UPS that would like to do calculations in your pension fund, you can scan that QR code or reach us at My Central States Pension. You can log in and run different pension scenarios. What happens if I work another 3 years, 5 years? It'll give you the joint survivor options as well, whether you take the 50%, it'll ask the age of your spouse, and it'll calculate them correctly and put them in the right column versus what I did. But you'll be able to get that on our website as well. And with that, let me see if there's any questions regarding Team Care or Central States related. Yeah, so the question is, the member is working. In this case, the husband is working still at UPS. The spouse turns 65. Because you're still working, your spouse still has active coverage with Central States. The only time it changes is when you're retired and you come under retiree coverage, either with us or with Wilson McShane. So as long as you're active, it doesn't matter. You can work to 80 and you'll still get active coverage. But once you do retire, you can't draw the retiree plan and be on Medicare. Different. So the question was, once he does retire and he's over 65, do we have any kind of Medicare Advantage plan? Or any Medicare supplement plan. Unlike Wilson McShane, we don't have a Medicare supplement plan. We do offer a Medicare Advantage plan. And I shouldn't say we partnered with Humana, and Humana offers a plan called Team Care Gold. And what Team Care Gold is, it's the Medicare Advantage plan that you can get at a lesser rate than if you bought it directly from Humana. So what'll happen is, once we know that you're retiring and drawing your UPS pension, you will get a letter from Humana that says, as a Team Care participant, you have the option to enroll in Medicare Advantage. And it's actually a really decent plan. Now there's pluses and minuses to supplements versus Advantage plans. So you got to weigh both of those. But the plan that we've partnered with Humana is really a decent plan. It does offer some dental, it does offer some vision under the plan. There's different benefits. What I hear in the field mostly is the prescription benefit under the Team Care Advantage plan is excellent. So, if you see me afterwards, I can send you some information on that, or you can go to a website and just type in Team Care Advantage or Team Care Gold, and it'll come up. Thank you all very much. Good luck with your retirement.
The next speaker we have is Stuart Mattson from Empower on the 401k plan. And then after that, I will be all done. I will have we'll have John come up and introduce our final speaker, our keynote speaker at the end here. So.
I thank you all so much for your time today. My name is Stuart Mattson. I'm a retirement plan counselor at Empower. And a couple things that you will have noticed is Empower acquired Prudential. So Prudential was the record keeper for your 401k plan. It's now transitioning over to Empower. And one of the things that, let me just change this up quickly. One of the things that you are going to notice is that besides the fact that the logo has changed from Prudential to Empower, we're also transitioning you over to the Empower platform. So the website, your registration and so forth, you'll need to go in and change that. I'm going to walk everybody through how to do that. Also, you'll want to download the new mobile app. And so I will show that as well. I shared all those slides with John, and so you'll all have access to it. So a couple of things. Who is Empower? Empower is the second largest retirement services company in the country and the fastest growing 401k record keeper. Any fans of the National Football League in here? All right. So anyway, when the Vikings are out playing the Broncos, it's Empower Field at Mile High. That Empower is us. So that's what you're going to be noticing. So I'm going to walk you through just a few slides as it pertains to taking withdrawals out from your 401k plan, some of the rules around that. Then I'll get you over to the website and we'll walk through that. So a couple things that I just want to quickly talk a little bit about. Plan withdrawals. If you're age 59 and a half years old or older, you are eligible to take what's called an in-service withdrawal. So you're eligible to withdraw money from your 401k plan, even if you're still working for UPS. A couple other things to remember is when you retire, you are able to keep your balance in the UPS plan, provided the balance is over $7,000. Between 1,000 and 7,000, you'll be within 60 days automatically rolled over into an IRA with Millennium. So that's the way that process works. But as long as you have a balance of over $1,000, you can just keep it in the UPS plan and withdraw from that as you go through retirement. There is something called a hardship withdrawal. You need to have gone through the loan process first, but with the hardship withdrawal, that's where you need money for a financial hardship prior to age 59 and a half years old. So if you need to buy a house, you have you've got post-secondary education expenses, unreimbursed medical expenses, you're able to withdraw, apply for a hardship withdrawal and be able to have access to your money in your 401k plan before you turn age 59 and a half. And the reason age 59 and a half is important is if you take money out before age 59 and a half, you can be subject to taxes as well as a 10% penalty. So that's why it's so important that 59 and a half year old rule age is so important. So the next thing I want to talk a little bit about is consolidating accounts. So when you are approaching retirement, my grandmother in California, she liked to go and open up an account at every bank because they had a free giveaway. And she thought that was a whole lot of fun. Now you can just imagine my dad when he had, after she passed away, trying to find out where all of our money is, right? It was an Easter egg hunt. By consolidating your accounts, you benefit a couple of ways. One, you are able to see everything all in one place. Two, you don't make your beneficiaries go through the Easter egg hunt. As much fun as that might be, after you've passed on, it's not so much fun for the beneficiaries going through that. So it's a way that you can kind of make it easier on yourself now, as well as later on. And so we do have you have the ability to, if you've worked for another employer before, you have an old 401k or 403b type plan at another place, to roll it into the Teamster UPS national plan to your account here. And so that's something at Empower. We do have a rollover assistance team that can help walk you through that process if you'd like to consolidate your accounts. So the only thing I need is, if you're interested, let me know afterwards. I just need on the sign-in sheet to add your phone number right next to your name. I'll put you into our system, and within 3 to 5 days, you'll have somebody contacting you to walk you through the process. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go through and talk a little bit about the website itself. So I'm going to click over here, pull up. Actually, I'm going to pull up. This is oh, hang on a sec. Am I not able to tab over? I'm just trying to toggle over. Yeah.
It should, once you, let's see here. Nice.
Okay, so this is this slide for those of you who prefer to use the mobile app to access your account. QR code to the left, and this has all been shared with John. The QR code to the left will take you to the App Store if you've got an Apple device. QR code to the right will take you to Google Play if you have a Samsung or another Android phone. So it's an easy way. It takes you straight to the Empower app so that you can download that onto your mobile device. And then you can go through the process of signing in. So this is the new site for the Teamster UPS National 401k Tax Deferred Savings Plan. And you've got some quick links up here to go to the Learning Center to learn more about different tools that we have, like financial wellness. We've got some investing, and then also more about your plan. So if you're looking for information on plan fees, you can just click right there. You can also click here and get a short video that walks you through the website. I'm going to demo that for you. For your protection, one thing that's really important is we have something called the Empower Security Guarantee. What that means is, if something were to happen to your account through no fault of your own, as long as you're following our recommended security practices, Empower will make you whole. And if you click on For Your Protection, you can get some security tips, as well as what are some of the requirements. Now, because your plan came over to us, you're going to need to go in and register your account. You're going to need to create a new username and password. That's a requirement for the Empower Security Guarantee. So the first thing you're going to do, you're going to click on the green register button. You're going to select I do not have a PIN. That is what you want. Then you're just going to fill in the 4 boxes. You'll click continue. It will pull up this page. It's going to ask for your personal email and mobile phone number. Why is that important? Another requirement for the Empower Security Guarantee is something called multi-factor authentication. What that means in English is, you know, when you have if you've got an Amazon, Microsoft, Apple account, once you type in your login credentials, they want to send you a verification code. Everybody been familiar with that when they send you the verification code? We're going to do the same thing. So by giving us your personal email, mobile phone, that's just allowing us to give you that information, to send you the verification code that you type in. It's just another level of security to make sure it's really you trying to access your account. Then you just go ahead and create your own username and password, re-enter your password, click register. And at that point, it's going to bring you into the main landing page that you see here. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through, if you go one level deeper, top menu, account, overview. And don't worry about trying to remember all these steps, because if I go back here, right here is your 800 number. So if you get lost or you have any questions, just go on the main landing page, which is Teamster UPS 401k plan.com. Just call in on that 800 number. And we've got the hours up there in Central Time. So they'll take great care of you. Right. Full circle here is your 2024 IRS limit. So for 2024, the IRS is going to allow you to put in $23,000 if you're under age 50. If you're age 50 or older in 2024, you can contribute a total of $30,500 into your 401k plan. So that's if you were to put your money in an IRA, you're only able to contribute $7,000 if you're under age 50, $8,000 if you are 50 or older. So you can put considerably more money into your 401k plan than you can an individual IRA. The percentage in the middle is your deferral rate. The blue shaded area is what you're on track to contribute this year. The green shaded area is your year-to-date contributions. So at the beginning of the year, you'll notice this will be all blue, and then it will turn increasingly green. So the first thing that's important for you to do is set up your beneficiary. Make sure that that came over. So it'll ask you if it came over, you'll just go in and edit it if you want to make sure it's still the appropriate person. Otherwise, click on it. It'll ask you if you're married, answer the question, and then who do you want the beneficiary to be? If you're married, it's got to be your spouse. Otherwise, you have a lot of other options that you can select from. So I'm going to select spouse, and then it's just a matter of filling in the boxes. Remember, you need social security number as well as the date of birth, and then click continue. If you want to add a contingent beneficiary, just click on the add another beneficiary button and follow the steps, and then click confirm. So super easy to do. Next thing I want to show you is if you want to increase or change your payroll contributions, or if say you're currently contributing on a pre-tax basis and you want to move that to Roth, just click on my contributions, click on edit, and then just move the bar wherever you want it to be. It'll tell you the impact on your paycheck per pay period. Click continue. And then you can have that be all before tax, all Roth, or you can split it between the two. So if you want to have a little bit going in pre-tax and a little bit going in Roth, just put the percentage you want to have go in pre-tax in the top box, and then put your cursor into the bottom box, and the remainder will go into Roth. And then click continue. And then you also can add what's called an auto increase if you wish by clicking on here. Otherwise, if everything looks good, just click confirm and continue. If you're looking for information on your plan summary, like disclosure notices and so forth, you can find them down here under plan information. You can take withdrawals from here. If you, for investing, if you click on my investments, you're able to apply your investment style. So for example, you may have your own portfolio. And so by clicking on changing my investments, you can make some changes. So are you do-it-yourselfer, you got your own portfolio, or do you want a little bit of help where you're going with a target date fund from Bright Horizon? Or you can do the third option, which is do it for me, which is the managed account option. So what are the differences between the three? If you're creating your own portfolio, you're going to be managing everything. You're going to be changing your asset allocation as you go throughout your working career. You're going to be setting up rebalancing. You're going to be making all those decisions. Under Help Me Do It with Bright Horizon, they actually have a plan, a manager who is doing all that for you. All you do is pick the year when you're expected to retire. And so let's say you're going to retire in 2041, you would pick the Bright Horizon 2040 fund and you put your money in that, and everything is taken care of for you. As the fund as you get closer to 2040, the fund will become increasingly conservative, selling some equity or stocks funds and picking up some bond funds. And then the one over to the left, the do it for me option, which is the managed account, is similar to the help me do it option, but the difference is with a target date fund, everybody is invested for exactly the same way. It's just based on, are you going to retire in 2040? And we all know that people have different amounts that they've saved for retirement, different salaries and so forth, different risk tolerances. So with the managed account, we take 13 different criteria into consideration that are unique to you and create a unique portfolio for you. So think of it like a personalized target date fund. So you could have two different people, both retiring in 2040, that with my total retirement would have different portfolios based on their particular need. Now, there is an additional fee that is charged for my total retirement, but that's one of the options that you have. And so if you go into my do it for me, for example, you have access to a licensed investment advisor at Empower, and you can set up annual meetings with them. You would just go through, click on Get Started. Make sure that these boxes are correct. This is how we get our 13 different data points. Click Next. Do the same thing on the second page. And then you'll have your personalized plan emailed to you. There is a fee. This is a demo, so these fees may not be exactly the UPS, the Teamster UPS plan, but there's a small fee associated to it, and it's charged on a quarterly basis. You can get in and out of my total retirement at any time. There aren't any contracts. So you can always come back to the screen, click unenroll if you want to go back to managing your account yourself. To move forward, you just click agree. One of the great things with my total retirement is there are some great dashboards. So because we've already got the 13 different data points, they have a retirement plan that they will build for you. And so this just shows you how are you doing on your way to retirement. The dark blue is they run some simulations. The dark blue is the average result. The light blue is the bottom percent when everything goes wrong. You can also update this plan. Another thing for those of you approaching retirement, if you're 50 or older, you'll see something called Smart Withdraw. And what that allows you to do is the system will put together a recommended plan for you in terms of withdrawing money from your account through your retirement years. And so this example shows through age 92, and it shows you your retirement income sources, estimated taxes, budgeted spending, which is one of those boxes that you filled in, as well as your ending portfolio balance. And down here at the bottom, you can click here and learn more about what strategies were used to calculate the Smart Withdraw strategy. So these are some of the tips that you're able to take advantage of. If you go back to account overview, a couple of things to point out here. This is your lifetime income score. If you click on it, you can actually set what you want your estimated income goal to be in retirement. So this is something you set for yourself. It knows your current annual salary. And then from the dropdown, you just pick what percentage of your current annual salary you want to receive in retirement. If you're married, you can add your spouse to this or your partner. Just fill in the information. So your goal runs in the background here. What runs in the foreground here is based on what we have in our portal on you. What are you estimated to have for monthly income in retirement? So you've got your goal that runs in the background, and this is kind of where you currently are. And so it pulls in your 401k balance, how much you're saving, Social Security, what you're expected to get from it based on your current salary. You can modify this to make it more accurate. Also, you can add other assets into the other assets bucket. So if you have a pension or an IRA somewhere, you can just click yes, I do. And you can add those balances into the other assets bucket. And then that will all get added into this number. So that's a way if you've got money elsewhere, you can kind of look at it all from within one portal. And the other assets bucket is private just to you. Nobody at Empower can see it. Nobody at Teamsters UPS can see it. Lastly, one of the things you're able to do also is by clicking expand here, you can create a model and see what will happen if I increase my contributions, change my retirement age, or change my investment style. What impact will it have on your estimated monthly income? And so easy to do, you can just move your contributions up a little bit. You can see the impact on your paycheck as well as on your future retirement income. Same thing with down here. Maybe you're going to work until age 67. And there you're now up to 80% of your goal. You can click review changes here and make these permanent if you like what you see. Otherwise, you can click cancel and it'll take you back to your original number. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here. If you go under planning, I'll show you one more thing and my financial path. You do have the ability, there is a built-in financial wellness survey. Also, you can go into the Learning Center from here and you can get assistance. So with the Learning Center, we organize everything by major financial topic. So if you have questions about retirement, you can click on that. There are videos, articles, modules, and financial calculators all built into the system that can help you. If you have come across a term you're not familiar with, you can click on glossary and just type it in here. And if it's in our glossary, it'll pull up a definition for you. So I know that's a lot of information, but one of the three things to take away is you need to go to Teamster UPS 401k.com. It's on the slides that will be shared with you. You need to register your account. If you want to use the mobile app, you need to download the new mobile app onto your phone. If you register first online, then just use your username and password to log into the mobile app. And then make sure to check and make sure your beneficiary is in the system. And then consider increasing your contribution if you wish. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here. Are there any questions? I know I've given everybody a lot of information, so sorry about that.
As I'm looking at the pie chart.
Yeah.
With the blue, yellow, and some green being after tax. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. How do we transfer that after tax into, let's say, would it be a Roth IRA at that point?
So after tax is going to be different from Roth. So there are specific rules with Roth, just so everybody's familiar with Roth, your contribution comes out after taxes. But there are some rules with Roth that mean that your earnings that are generated can be tax-free as well. And those two rules are you have to be 59 and a half years old when you withdraw the money, and you need to have had a balance in the Roth side of your 401k account for 5 years or more. With after-tax money, there's no 5-year rule. So with after-tax money as different from Roth, you have a little bit more flexibility in terms of that. Within your plan, though, you've got a limit in terms of you can only contribute up to 5% of your pay into after-tax. Whereas for Roth and pre-tax, you can contribute up to 35% of your pay.
For some of us in this plan, that after-tax was put in there towards the end of the year because we had hit our allowable amounts.
Yep.
Okay. So what is that? How do we transfer that?
This will all be transferred for you.
Okay.
So when it comes to your money and when it comes to the funds you're in, there's nothing you need to do. What you guys need to do is make sure you download the new mobile app. You need to make sure that you've registered your account, like I showed you. And then go in and make sure that your beneficiary has ported over as well. Because sometimes when they do that, the beneficiary doesn't come with. Everything else does. So you want to go and check to make sure your beneficiary is in the system. If it's not there, it's super easy to add. I just showed you how to do it. If there are any questions that you have, because I know I gave you a lot of information, just call up that 800 number on the main. Sorry, let me go back to on the main landing page here, 1-800-537-0189. And they'll be able to walk you through it. We've got Saturday hours as well as Monday through Friday hours. So you've got extended hours, you have hours into the evening. So it's there to help you. Oh, sir.
Is there a way to transfer your money from a pre-tax to the Roth IRA?
So the question is there a way to transfer from a pre-tax IRA to a Roth IRA? That is something that you'd work with a financial advisor on to do it. It's called a backdoor IRA. So there's an option there. Inside your if you're rolling into your 401k plan though, one thing I want to make sure everybody's aware of is IRAs and 401ks have different rules from the IRS. And so they're two different vehicles. And so you can roll a pre-tax IRA into the pre-tax side of your 401k, but you cannot do the same thing for a Roth. You cannot roll a Roth IRA into the Roth side of your 401k. Talk to the IRS. I don't know why. Yeah, sir.
Stay in the plan after you retire, they have more than $7,000. Is there an age or a year's restriction on it? Say I retire 60, 65, whatever it is, and I want to stay with you guys for 10 years after, is there restriction on the amount of years I can stay?
There's no restriction in terms of keeping your money in the plan with Empower from what I've seen. Scott, is that correct? So the minimum is if you're between $1,000 and $7,000 in your plan, it's going to automatically be rolled over into an IRA. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're under 1,000, it's going to be basically you're going to be removed from the plan. So you would have to either take a distribution or roll it into to an IRA somewhere else. Yes, and then I'll get to you. Yeah.
Yeah, getting back to the Roth conversions, and I was just wondering if anything changed going from Prudential to Empower. And our previous speaker from Prudential at our last retirement seminar had directed this, but I think this is probably what happened with Doug. Some of us sometimes get classified as high income earners, and therefore we end up with over contributions, so they reclassify some of that as pre-tax. So we're sitting on an amount that's
It'd be after tax. It'd be after tax.
Yeah, it gets reclassified as after tax. And at that time I asked them, well, can I take that after tax and do it back to a Roth conversion within the plan? And at that time, couldn't. He said, you can roll it to an outside IRA and then do a backdoor conversion outside the plan. Has any of that changed? Can we do an inside the plan conversion into a Roth with that money?
I'm not familiar. I'm not from talking with the relationship manager. I'm not aware that possibility has been added to your plan. Some plans do have, in-plan rollovers, which allow you to convert over pre-tax money into Roth money. The thing to keep in mind, though, is you cannot use money in your account to pay the taxes. And once you make that change, the IRS is very unforgiving about you cannot go back. So if for example, you transfer over everything in your account and you were only planning to transfer over a little bit, there's no going back.
So you can convert pre-tax to Roth within the plan, just not after tax.
Let me back up there. If your plan allows it. And so that's something that I did not come prepared with. So if your plan allows it, then you would have the ability to do it. If your plan doesn't allow it, then you would not be able to do that. So that's a plan specific provision. Ma'am, over here.
You start your withdrawals at age 59 and a half. If you want to withdraw earlier than that, is there an exception to withdrawing at the age of 55 without incurring the extra tax penalty?
Only if it was a hardship or a loan. So that's where for 401k stuff, 59 and a half is basically that age. Yes, sir.
Like income limits to, you can contribute to a 401 like IRA has?
No. So this is one of the huge benefits of having the Roth part of your 401k, because it doesn't matter how much you earn, you're able to contribute up to that 30,500 if you're 50 or older, or 23,000 if you're under 50.
And my second question is, can you max contribute to a 401k and an IRA?
Yes, they're two separate vehicles. So you could put 30,000, if you're say 20, if you're under 50, you could put 23,000 into the 401k and then put 7,000 into your into Roth. Sorry, question?
Are the fees for staying with you guys, or is it much better than the average? Is that one of the benefits of staying with Empower after we retire?
What I would say, everybody has to look at your own personal situation. So I can't give you advice as to what to do. What I can say is, if you like the tools that we have and you think those tools can help you better manage your money, then that would be one of the reasons you would want to stay with Empower. You know, obviously the fees are pretty low too. But again, there's nothing that would prevent you if you wanted to roll your money out from doing that. That's your choice. But when you're with a 401k plan, you typically get the benefit of scale in terms of fees. So your fees are typically going to be lower, as well as you have the ability to use, you know, the tools that you see on the website. And I didn't even go into the advanced ones. We've got financial wellness tools as well, like built-in budgeting tool and so forth. So there's a lot of really great, you know, tools and widgets that can help you towards a better retirement, help you better manage your money, so that in retirement, you're doing the fun stuff that you want to do. Like with my father-in-law, my father-in-law, when it came to retirement, what he cared about is, do I have enough Pepsi and Oreos for my grandkids when we're out fishing? That's what he cared about, you know? So, you know, that's what you want to do. You want to be able to, you know, let the software help you manage your money so that you can spend your time doing what you want. Sir, and then I'll get you, sir.
Are you a financial advisor? Do you know the things that are sunsetting next year? Or are you a salesman for this site?
I am an education person, so I don't care what you got. I personally, I'm not trying to put you, if you want to manage your money yourself, you can do that. And if you want to put it into my total retirement, you can do that. If you want to leave it in a target date fund, you can do that. It doesn't matter to me. I'm expected to present them equally. You know, so so I am licensed. I'm a Series 6 and 63, which means I can do everything but give you guys advice.
So you have sunsetting clause for next
So
year?
secure 2.0, yeah.
Okay, so can we roll the 401k into the Roth saving, or no, backwards? Whatever sunsetting next year that we save on the taxes, paying taxes, roll it, as I understand it.
So there are so Secure 2.0 is a lot more complicated than it sounds in the press. Because first of all, there's a lot of stuff. It was supposed to happen this year, but Congress couldn't figure out what, you know, the laws. So they said, we're gonna do Secure 2.0. Here are some big brush things that we wanna do. And then companies like mine ask, well, okay, well, what exactly does this mean? Blah, 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 blah. So they're still working some of that out. So one of the pieces is if you're a high income earner, at a certain point, you may be forced to do Roth because the government wants their taxes. But there's other elements of that that are, in a very fluid state right now. Yes, sir.
Well, at one point, it's, like when you're in this plan, you age into your seventies and the R&Ds start at a certain age so that the government gets their tax, they report it in 10 years, like 10% every year until it's gone, right?
So RMDs are a little different. So RMDs are only on pre-tax monies. So with Roth, you've already paid your taxes. With RMDs only affect pre-tax money. Your pre-tax money from the 401k contributions to the 401k, that's where, depending on your age, so the younger people in here, it may be 73, it used to be 70 and a half. So there are people in this room that could have different ages for when RMDs start, when the clock starts. In terms of, and so all it just means is there are percentages each year that you will be required to take out of your account and pay the taxes on. Record keepers like Empower are expected by the IRS to help you with that. So if you've got money in a lot of different buckets, it may be harder for us to do it, but like for your 401k money, they would expect us to provide you with how much you need to pay in terms of taxes and so forth. So there's assistance there. Don't worry that you're kind of on an island by yourself. And that helpful 800 number there can help you with all of that. Any other questions? Oh, do I need a?
Is there a 30-day window when you retire till when you can receive your first check?
So in terms of when you retire, it will be 30 days before that first check goes out. So that's one thing to keep in mind, that you've got enough you've got enough cash on hand to make it through that 30-day window. Yes, sir.
So when we start on, we're gonna have multiple buckets of money. Do we need to allocate what bucket our money comes back to us? Or does it come proportional out of all the buckets?
So that is really up to you. So I can talk about the 401k bucket. Now, if you've got money that you've contributed pre-tax and money you've contributed Roth, on our statements, you will see your money's split out pre-tax and Roth. And so that's how you can determine which bucket do you want to pull from. And that's a way, from a tax standpoint, that you could manage what you're paying in taxes. All right. Well, thank you all so much for your time.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. In case you don't know me, I'm Jonathan Keychek, president here at Teamsters 638. And once again, just welcome to everyone. We've had a lot of great information here. We have 3 out of 4 people done, and I know you don't want to hear from me, so I'm just going to touch on a couple quick things, and then we'll get to the what I'm going to consider the star of the show today, and we'll get to that information. Looking around today, there's 2 different reasons I'm excited about these sorts of events. One is that I started at UPS in 2004. And so I'm able to look around and I see a number of different people that had already had some years in when I had started. I look around, I see, Deb here had only been around for 4 years, all the way up to Craig in the back, had been there for 23 years already at that point. But one of the great things is that cycle always happens. Somebody new comes in. Hey, all you're worried about is, hey, what's going to be in my paycheck? But you have people who had been around some time who say, no, actually, if you sit around and make this a career, that's going to benefit you and your pension. And that's kind of what you can set as your long-term goals. And so I want to thank for the many people here who encouraged me along the way, with the exception of one person who I was their preloader when I started. And Janelle, thank you for regularly telling me how terrible of a preloader I was. The other thing that I'm excited about being here today for is that we had just completed the negotiations for this contract this last year, as you all know, going into this new contract. And Trevor and I were able to be out at the negotiations for that. And Trevor had served on the financial committee and was had a hand in a lot of the numbers that you saw go upwards in this current contract. So big thank you to everyone who is involved in that. But I've been excited since, because as we were going through that, working through that with General President O'Brien, we were able to look and see, hey, there's going to be a lot of people who are really going to be able to benefit from these numbers going up. And so I'm excited for you to be able to have that here as we go on today. The one last thing I want to touch on is probably one of the most common questions that we get asked as business agents when somebody's approaching retirement. They say, okay, how much vacation am I going to get paid on my way out? Now that basically has to do with when your seniority date is and then when you're leaving. So for example, my full-time seniority date is April 16th. If I plan to retire on October 31st, I'd be looking at the period of time that I had accumulated hours between April 16th and October 31st. Now, a lot of people, they choose a date that's kind of meaningful to them and they say, hey, I want to retire on that date. A lot of people say, hey, I want to retire on my birthday for any number of reasons. My birthday is October 29th, so I would say, hey, I want to retire October 31st. So I can retire as close to the end of the month as possible and then have my first pension check waiting for me once we get into the following month. Who knows how many hours it takes for a full-timer to get a full complement of vacation for a year? 1,250. And so what that means is from April 16th of 2023 through April 16th of 2024, that's the vacation that I was earning for the time that I could take off in 2024. Since April 16th of 2024, that's through April 16th of 2025, that's where I would be earning the time for the vacation I would be able to take this next year. So when you're considering retirement, you're considering when your seniority date is to when you're going to retire. Now it takes about 8 months to get that full complement of the 1,250 straight time hours of vacation. So you can kind of think about things that way. So from April 16th to October 31st, I would earn about 90% of those 1,250 hours. Now the option week that you get, that's separate from the rest of your vacation weeks. The option week is available to you when you work into the next year. So when you're thinking about retirement, unless you're working into the next year, that's not going to be a part of consideration. So me, as I hit 20 years this year, I'd be looking at, okay, I have my 5 regular weeks of vacation. I'd be getting about 90% of that. For about 4 weeks and a couple days they're worth. I will be sticking around afterwards. If you want to run through some scenarios, I'd be more than happy to do that with you. It is kind of a tricky thing because it is all down to the individual. But that is one of the most important questions that we get and most regular questions we get. And we'll be happy to work with you as you get closer to your own retirement. So that's all I have. I guess I want to introduce our last and final guest speaker today, Qantas Butler. And this is her first time speaking at the Teamsters Local 638 pre-retirement seminar. So let's give her a warm welcome of applause.
Good morning. Glad to be here today. So this is actually my first time in Minnesota and I was welcomed with snow. I haven't seen snow in like 7 years, but I'm based out of Atlanta. We are responsible for the administration of your pension benefit. So I have a team. I have a team of about 40 or so individuals that help support me with assisting you all as you all are working through your retirement process. So we are responsible for administration of the 5 UPS defined benefit plans along with 1 non-qualified plan. So we essentially have responsibility for retirement for around 500,000 or so participants. So we do the best that we can with what we have. But I'm gonna touch on a couple of points today, but ultimately I'm here to discuss your retirement. So there are things that I may want to say and there are things that you are going to want to hear. So we'll meet somewhere in the middle, right? So I have a presentation. I'm gonna go through this deck and I'll try to get through the majority of the deck, but then I'll open it up for questions. But if anybody has any burning questions that you have to get out, just raise your hand. I'll stop because there are things again that are important to you. And I wanna make sure that we accomplish the goal here, which is ultimately to get you guys to a point where you're comfortable with retiring and where you have the information that you need to equip you with being successful in your retirement. All right, so the agenda today, I'll touch on the IBT plan, I'll touch on the pension plan. I want to go into a little bit of a demo for the retirement calculator, but again, that depends on what you guys want. If you need to ask questions before we get to that point, I'll let you all ask whatever questions you need to ask, and then we can kind of go through the demo. All right, so who is eligible to participate in your full-time IBT plan? You have to be covered for the purpose of pension benefit by the applicable CBA between UPS and IBT. Completion of 1 hour of service in covered employment and following the completion of 1 year of eligible service. Was a participant in the Central State Pension Fund as of 12/31/2007 and in covered employment on the effective date, which was 1/1/2008. We've already touched on most of this, but I'll just maybe touch on vesting here. So vesting determines that you have a non-forfeitable right to your pension benefit. So what that means to you is that if you work 5 years and you have 5 years of vesting credit, then essentially nobody can take that benefit from you. You're vested in it, no matter where you go, you're entitled to it and you will receive it. All right, so this slide here is going to be very important to you because this is basically how your monthly benefit is accrued. So there are 2 components of how your benefit is accrued, and that's going to be your service credit and your service pension credit. Service credit is essentially based on the number of hours that you work in a calendar year. If you work more than 1,801 hours in a calendar year, you're not going to get more than 1 year of service. You may see it in your paycheck, but you're not going to get more than 1 year of service. So partial accruals begin at 150 hours. So if you work less than 150 hours in any given year, you are not going to receive a partial service credit. Any questions on that before I move forward? All right, pretty self-explanatory. Service pension credit. This is a big one. So if you work an hour in any week, you receive 1 week of service pension credit. Your service pension benefit is calculated based on service pension credit. We'll touch on that shortly. So partial service pension accruals begin at 20 weeks. If you work less than 20 weeks in any given year, you are going to receive no service pension credit. So service pension credit pre-2008 is equal to service credit accrued through December 31/2007. So what that means is that at conversion, and by conversion, I mean transition over to the UPS IBT plan, Central States provided the plan with some information, and essentially what that information was your participant profile, as well as the amount of service credit that you received through 12/31/2007 with Central States, along with your accrued benefit amount payable from Central States. So all of that goes into the equation when we're calculating what you all are entitled to at the moment in which you decide that you want to move on and do greater things. All right, any questions on that piece? No questions? All right. Okay, so this here is more for informational purposes, but this is going to be the benefit rate. So you all just had a contract, so you know, as of 1/1/2024 and beyond through 2028, as of now, your accrual rate is going to be $185. And then if we can kind of look at the predate, that's how we will be calculating your benefit. So essentially what that means is, let's use the example of 2024. If you receive a full year of service credit in 2024, you're going to be credited with a benefit rate of $185. And I know it's kind of granular here, but you'll see some more specific information when we get into an example. But any questions so far? All right. So right here, these are the benefit types. We have the normal retirement, which is your accrued benefit payable at normal retirement age. And you have your early retirement, which is essentially just the calculation of your normal retirement benefit with some applicable early reduction factors depending upon when you decide to commence on that benefit. For this particular plan, you can commence on your benefit at any age as long as you have 5 years of vesting credit. And then we have the service pensions. I'll go through that a little bit later as well. Vested, deferred, you all are active, so we don't even really need to touch on that. We have the disability piece here because there are some active individuals that have needed to take advantage of the disability benefit, but essentially you have to have at least 10 years of service, become disabled while in covered employment or within 2 years of inactive status, and it has to occur prior to age 62. Same here with the death benefit. The death benefit can be payable. It's generally $10,000 if you have at least 10 years of service and pass away while active or within 2 years of inactive status prior to normal retirement age. All right, so jumping ahead to what I'll call the meat and potatoes here. So this is just an example of an individual with an accrued benefit payable at normal retirement age. So we have a name, George. So essentially here, George terminated employment on June 30th, 2024. And he commenced his benefit July 1, 2024 at normal retirement date. So if you just kind of follow me to the second row, you'll see Central States Pension Fund and you'll see a star. So this is what was reported to UPS IBT plan as of 12/31/2007. We don't have the monthly rate listed here because we didn't receive that level of detail. However, this person has accrued a benefit of $965.50 that is going to be payable from Central States at age 65. Jumping ahead to the third or fourth row, you'll see the UPS IBT plan. So this is when that person actually stepped into the IBT plan and started to accrue service credit. And service credit is, again, a reminder based on the amount of hours worked in any given year. So this person received 11 years of service credit. And I think I tied it back into the accrual rate, but we didn't actually break down all of those different accrual rates because there are a multitude of them between 2008 and 2018. But here this person has accrued a benefit of $1,730. And then we have the IBT plan from 2019 to 2023, but just for purposes of simplification, 5 years of service credit, the monthly rate for that time period was $175. So the accrual, $875. And then jumping ahead to 2024, when you all receive an additional benefit accrual increase to the $185. So this particular individual did not work a full year in 2024 because, as you see, he retired mid-year June 30th, 2024. So he's going to receive half of year service credit. So put all of those different dollar amounts together, and the benefit payable from the IBT plan is $2,697.50. And then you take that $2,697.50 and you add it to the amount that the person is eligible to receive that will be payable at some point from Central States of the $965.50. So that total monthly benefit amount payable at this person's normal retirement date or age 65 is going to be $3,663. So what's going to happen for this particular individual is that this entire benefit is going to be paid depending on when this person retires. But let's just say the person retires at age 62. The entire benefit is going to be paid from UPS up until the person reaches age 65. When the person reaches age 65, we are going to expect Central States to step in and to pay that $965.50. The IBT plan will continue to pay the $2,697.50. But what that means is that there's going to be a process that has to start with Central States at this point. So in this example, the person started the application process with UPS, which is all fine. That's the way that we expect things to happen. But then at age 65, we're expecting, and Central States expects for the participant to reach out to them so that you can start to receive your $965.50. So it's a little bit of a joint effort between UPS and Central States when the participant reaches age 65. So I did have a conversation with Mike, and basically what he shared to me was that Central States would certainly reach out to individuals as they're approaching age 65 to help guide you guys to start the process there so that you won't have any interruptions with your pension payment. I think that's pretty much the gist of it, is just understanding that there's a process that starts at UPS, there's a calculation that occurs at UPS, and then there's a process that needs to take place at the Central State side, just to make sure you are whole when you reach age 65. Does that make sense? Any questions, concerns? Yes.
So it's not necessarily automatic that we have to file paperwork with Central States, but they should be reaching out to us?
Yeah, you can go.
There's no additional paperwork you have to fill out, but we're gonna reach out to you and just tell you at age 65, you're now going to get the $965.50 from Central States. And UPS on their end will reduce that and send you the check for the difference in that case.
More or less informative. rather
Correct.
than active.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is there any working after retirement rules that would apply to that amount?
No,
You
not for
you're allowed to
UPS,
work.
correct. You are allowed to work,
But
correct.
what about, I mean, not for UPS, but for the Central States piece? I thought.
Yeah, for the
you guys
Central
have-
States, the prohibitive reemployment rules.
Yeah.
No, there are no prohibitive reemployment rules for
Whether
the
you're
UPS.
retiring under the accrual or the
Correct.
service.
Because in that case, you're gonna be retired for more than a year. It's not gonna fall under our prohibitive reemployment rules. And you're over 60.
Any questions?
This is service pension, based on the anniversary date or calendar year?
It is going to be based on calendar year, so the hours worked in any given calendar year. All right, so this is going to be the service pension. So, and this is specific to a person that is in covered employment and has an hour of service after 1/1 of 2024. So this screen here reflects the current contract. So, if your last day in covered employment is on or after January 1, 2024, and you reach age 55 on or before July 31, 2028, you may be eligible for an enhanced 25, 30, or 35-year service pension. So I know that's a little bit misleading because you guys are thinking, well, I can receive a service pension at any age if I reach any particular threshold, which is absolutely true. But in this example, if you're less than age 55, you have to have at least 25 years of service to receive the dollar amounts that are indicated on this particular page. So in this example, an individual, and using the 25-year service threshold, you can be 49, but you have to have at least 25 years of service to receive this particular service amount of $2,400. So just kind of looking at the screen here, you'll see that between age 55 to 56, there is a $3,000 amount between 25 years of service and 29 years of service. That's because in your current agreement, there are certain I'll call it improvements for individuals that have reached a certain age and certain service threshold. So I tried to capture it here as simple as possible, but I understand that it may be a bit confusing the way that it's displayed because the way that it looks here is a person can be 55 to 56, 25 to 29 years, $3,000, and that amount never increases. That is absolutely correct. That is how it is, the plan is written, and that is what was in your CBA, I believe. But then you'll see that if the person that reaches 30 years of service, you get a huge increase. So that is very important for once you get to that 30-year service threshold, you're going to jump from 4,200 if you're less than age 55, all the way up to 4,800. So I'm trying to just throw a couple of scenarios out there just to show the difference, but I do have a few examples. So we have George, and George terminated employment in 2025, and he commenced his retirement benefit on March 1 of 2025 at age 56, and George had 35 years of service. So George is age 56, George will receive a monthly service pension amount of $5,300, and that is going to be payable for his lifetime. And then we have an example here of Janet. So Janet terminated employment on December 31, 2025, and she has 30 years of service pension credit at age 50. Janet will receive $4,200, and that is going to be payable for her lifetime as a single life only annuity. Yes.
Is this all full-time years or is this service?
This particular screen is all full-time years. So I do have an example of a combined service pension because I understand, you know, some people in the room may have had part-time and full-time service. But any other questions on this piece? All right. All right, so I think this may answer the question on a partial service pension. So what a partial service pension does, it considers your service as a part-time employee if you were covered by the UPS pension plan, and it considers your service as a full-time employee covered by the IBT plan. So you have to have an hour of service on or after 1/1/2008 to be eligible for this particular partial service pension under IBT plan. So in this example here, we have a participant that's age 55. And we're just going to assume the person is retiring this year or next year. So the person has 23 years of full-time in the IBT plan and 8 years in the pension plan. So he has a total combined service, which is the part-time and full-time service of 31 years. So let's just assume there is no overlap. And so by overlap, I mean that person has only received a year of service, and so it was basically a clean break. So if the person transitioned from pension plan to IBT in 2008, the person received a full year of service in pension plan and no service in the IBT plan. The following year, in 2009, the person just started to accrue service in the IBT plan. So that means the person had a clean break when he transferred from part-time to full-time. So in this scenario, it is not necessary for us to apply an adjustment for an overlap of service because there's a clean break. Because you cannot receive more than 1 year of service in any plan at the same time. So you can't basically have a year of service in the pension plan in 2008 and a year of service in the IBT plan in 2008, because that's more than a year of service across the board. So you have to apply an adjustment. So in this scenario, we did not need to apply an adjustment. The person has 31 years of combined service. The person is eligible for a service pension, a combined service pension of $3,635. So what we did in this particular scenario is we took the 23 years of full-time, divided by 31 times $4,900, which is the service pension amount for a 31-year service pension for a age 55-year-old person. And then we just kind of applied that calculation. And so the total benefit payable for this person is $3,635 if the person's highest benefit would be the partial service pension. So what happens on the UPS side, when we're actually going through and performing different calculations on the pensioner, we take a look at the service for the service amounts for the service pension credit for a service credit. We take a look at the accrual for the normal retirement benefit. We also take a look at the combined service credit and then any other type of calculations you would be eligible for. And then we essentially decide what is the highest benefit that is going to be payable to the pensioner. And you will receive the highest benefit as we compare those 3 different type of calculations. Does that make sense? Any questions? Yes.
So that's the calculation for your total service pension. Do you still add on top of that the part-time pension plan?
Absolutely. So we'll touch on that we can touch on it now actually, but I think it will probably make more sense when I get to the pension plan slide. But essentially what will happen in this scenario is that the same thing, just kind of a reverse calculation. So we'll do 8 divided by 31. Actually, it will be 8 divided by 31 times whatever the pension amount is for the service pension, which I think is like $2,100. And so then you'll get a benefit that will be payable from the pension plan as well as the IBT plan. All right, so these are the forms of payment that are available in the IBT plan. So the normal form of payment for a married participant is going to be the qualified joint and 50% survivor annuity. What that means is that the amount that the pensioner is eligible to receive, the surviving spouse will receive 50% of that month should the pensioner predecease the surviving spouse. So essentially, what happens in this particular scenario is that the benefit amount that would be payable to the pensioner is actuarially reduced a little bit down to account for the benefit needed to be paid over 2 different lifetimes. This particular, normal form of payment, if the pensioner decides that they do not want to accept this normal form of payment, the spouse has to complete a waiver stating that she or he is okay with not receiving the qualified joint and 50% survivor annuity, and that it is fine for the pensioner to decide to opt another optional form of payment. For the single participant, there's a lifetime with limited surviving spouse option, which I'll touch on the next slide. But essentially what that is that there's really not a guaranteed payment there, but there may be a death benefit that could be payable if you do not exceed a certain number of payments. But again, I'll touch on another slide. And then you have your optional payment forms. So this essentially is for a married participant, but there's a lifetime with limited surviving spouse option. Again, the spouse has to waive her qualified joint and 50% survival annuity payment in order for the pensioner to select this particular optional form of payment. And then there's a joint and 75% survival annuity. Again, this has to be waived by the spouse of the pensioner. As I stated before, because the normal form of payment is going to be the qualified joint and 50% survivor annuity for someone that is married. And just one other thing maybe I would like to touch on this topic. So if the spouse decides that he or she is okay with not receiving a benefit should the participant predecease the spouse, the spouse could actually allow the pensioner to elect a alternate beneficiary in lieu of your spouse. But again, that has to be waived. Any questions? All right. So I said that I was going to touch on this lifetime with limited surviving spouse option in another slide, and this is the slide. So the lifetime with limited surviving spouse option provides a unreduced lifetime retirement benefit to a pensioner for life. So if the pensioner dies after the benefit commences, no further benefits are payable unless the pensioner has at least 20 years of service pension credit or completed at least 30 years of combined service, which is going to be pension plan, retirement plan, and IBT service, or age 50 and has completed at least 20 years of combined service. And the person passes away prior to receiving 60 monthly payments. The option provides for a single pensioner, there will be a $1,000 lump sum benefit. So if the pensioner does not receive 60 months of payment, there will be a $1,000 lump sum payment that will be payable to the estate. And then for the married individual, if the married individual does not select this particular option, but does not receive 60 months of payment, then the surviving spouse would be entitled to receive whatever the remaining portion of the 60-month guarantee is. So for example, let's say that a pensioner goes into retirement this month or January for the purposes of this conversation. And the person receives 12 months of payment. So the person is in pay for this entire year, but the person ultimately passes away in December. The surviving spouse in this option will be entitled to 4 years of ongoing payments, basically, because there's a 5-year guarantee, essentially. Any questions? All right, but again, for a married participant, this is an optional form. The normal form of payment for a married participant is going to be the qualified joint and survivor spouse option. If you are married, you cannot receive this option unless your spouse completes a waiver. And the waiver has to be notarized as well as approved by our office. All right, so that was kind of it on the IBT plan. I'll stop for a minute, see if we have any questions specific to the full-time plan, and maybe we'll kind of jump into the part-time plan. Yes.
It was looking like on the, when you take the 50% or the 75%, like the 75% had a limit. Is that true? Or is that a lifetime benefit for my wife?
No, it is a lifetime benefit for your wife. So if you were to predecease your wife, she would receive 75% of the amount that you had been receiving.
That's what I thought.
Him and then maybe you. Okay.
Okay, if you do your spouse at 75% or 50%, and it happens to die before you, what happens?
That is a great question, and I was supposed to touch on that, so I'm happy you asked the question. So if your spouse were to predecease you, what would happen is your benefit would revert back to the single life only option. And so if you were, it would revert back to that higher amount, which is going to be the amount that would be payable to you had you chose the single life only. But then what happens is that whenever you actually, or the pensioner actually does pass away, there's no further benefit payable.
On the, with the 75% option with the 60-month limit, what does the 60-month mean? I think that's what we're confused about.
That's what I was asking.
Okay, so there's a couple of different things. The 75% or joint and 75% option is completely different from the lifetime with limited survivor spouse 60-month guarantee. That's two totally different thoughts. So the joint and survivor 75%, that is an optional form if you were to select your spouse and are a beneficiary. That person is going to be entitled to receive 75% of the dollar amount that you had been receiving if you were to predecease that person. For the lifetime with limited survivor spouse, if you are a married individual, then your spouse would have to waive her right to a benefit from you. And then what will happen is that once you start to commence on your benefit, there's essentially a 5-year guarantee on the benefit. So if the pensioner receives less than 60 months of payment, what will happen is, so in this example, if the person actually receives 4 years of payment, what will happen is that 5th year, 12 months of payment would be, your wife would be entitled, or your spouse will be entitled to that remaining year of payment. And after that remaining year of payments expire, there is no further benefit payable. Does that make sense?
Still look right.
Okay. You can talk to me after if it's still a little gray, and also, I mean, I did have some SPDs shipped here. They are outdated because we're working on updating a new SPD, but it is in the SPD, so you can refer to that section in your SPD.
So the 5-year guarantee would only apply to somebody that opted out of the survivorship.
That is absolutely correct. You have to opt out of the normal form of payment.
So if you opt out and the pensioner is collecting 100% of his pension, they're guaranteed for
60 months, exactly.
But if you got survivorship, then
it pays forever. Yes.
Disputed the calculation. You guys recalculate all of them, right? Get submitted.
So the question was, if there is a dispute in the retirement benefit calculation, would we recalculate all of the optional form of payments? And that is absolutely correct, because what happens is that once we are applying the different actuarial adjustments, that all starts with a single life only payment. And so really the benefits are adjusted down from the amount of a single life only benefit. And so if the single life benefit changes, then all other optional form of payments would adjust as well. Any other questions on that? Yes, you, and then you. I'm sorry, I saw her first. Okay.
Change that at a later date to 75, or are you locked into the decision you make upon retirement?
Generally, you are locked in. This plan has a different provision where you have a little bit of time to change your optional form of payment. I think it might be 90 days, but after 90 days, there is a revocation of election and you cannot make any changes. Yes. Yeah, so the question was with the 75% option, do you have to pay extra for that? And so basically the way that the calculation works is that since the benefit is expected to be paid out by over 2 different lifetimes, if an individual chooses a joint and survivor 75% option, we're going to be expecting to pay the participant his or her full amount, and then we're going to be expected to pay the surviving spouse 75% of what that person would be receiving. So what happens is that the participant's benefit amount is actuarially reduced a little bit more than the 50% option. Mhm.
For someone that's, over 55, 30 years of service, retired. Looking at if we decide to stay on for the part-time, let's say it's 100 years of service, as a 50 years of service, this part-time work benefits, if it's full-time for 30 years, like to be on part-time capacity. How does that help?
So meaning he stepped out of the plan at a specific age.
So it's retired full-time after 30 years. Yeah. We decided to do part-time for some.
Yeah, okay, I understand. So I'm just gonna maybe answer the question with a couple of different things. For this particular scenario, you cannot grow into a benefit. So for example, if you step out of the plan and you have 29 years of service and you're age 55 and you start to commence on your benefit, you're going to receive $3,000 from the plan. And that's all you're going to receive. So even though you continue to, or you come back at some point and you actively work as a part-timer, your benefit will not be recalculated. So that benefit amount will be payable for your lifetime. So you, in this scenario, you'll grow in age, essentially, and you'll continue to accrue additional service under the pension plan, but you've already commenced on your benefit from the IBT plan. Mm-hmm. Did I see a hand over here? No? Okay.
What's the benefit for a spouse if the participant dies before commencing on retirement?
Okay, so if the question is what would occur if the participant passes away prior to starting the retirement process? In the scenario, the spouse would be entitled to the qualified joint and 50% option, and she could commence on the benefit as early as, for this particular plan, as early as whenever, because you have the 5 years of vesting. So essentially, the person would be entitled to a benefit and it would be payable for her lifetime or his lifetime.
And it's based on the age of the participant upon death?
It's based on the age of the participant upon death, and it's based on the age, it's based on the service that the person had accrued prior to the person passing away.
But it's not reduced based on the spouse's age when they start collecting?
Well, I guess a portion of it is, because what is going to happen is that a portion, the benefit amount that would have been payable to the participant. So let's say in this example, the participant was entitled to $1,000. So the spouse would be entitled to 50% of that amount. Is that answering your question?
Regardless of when.
Because the benefit is not being paid for 2 lifetimes. It's only being paid for 1 lifetime in this example.
It doesn't matter if the spouse has reached retirement age or anything. It's just.
It doesn't matter. It's based on you. It's based on your profile and your age and your service. It's not based on anything specifically as it relates to the spouse. Yeah.
So as far as that 60 months goes, afterwards, if you do the 75%, you would get it for your lifetime. It has nothing to do with the 60%.
Yeah, so the way that I would answer that question, yes, the way that I would answer that question is, if you're considering the qualified joint and survivor spouse 50% option and the joint and survivor 75% option, it is completely independent from the 60-month guarantee, completely independent. Those benefits are payable over 2 different lifetimes. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to jump ahead, so all heart and minds clear? All right, perfect. All right, so I'll touch on this briefly. You all in this room are in the IBT plan, so this would have been something that you could probably more relate to earlier in your career. But basically, you must be age 21, have at least 375 hours of service. Your participation date in this plan is either January 1 or July 1. So you can't actually become a participant in this plan unless you meet the hour and age requirement and you enter into the plan on January or July. I don't think it matters for this room because you all would have already been participants at one point if you are a participant. And so now I'm just going to assume that everybody in this room as of now is likely in the IBT plan. So vesting, again, this means that you have earned an irrevocable right to receive the accumulated benefit at some future date, very similar to some of the information that you saw as vesting under the IBT plan. Here, this is going to be the service credit schedule. So basically in this plan, if you have 750 or more hours, you receive a year service credit. And then you can see the different thresholds. 501 to 749 will give you 0.75 years of service credit. And then less than 375 hours will give you no service credit. And types of benefits, very similar to the IBT plan for the most part, but the normal retirement benefit is payable at age 65. There are different splinter groups, so those rules may vary. Then you have your early retirement benefit, which is payable as early as age 50, but you have to have at least 10 years of vesting. Then you have your service pension, partial pension, deferred vested, which are all payable as early as age 50. Postponed retirement, that is going to be retiring beyond age 65. And then you have your minimum required distribution, automatic distribution, which is basically if the value of your pension is less than $7,000, you're going to receive a cash out. And you have a disability benefit. All right, so this particular screen here, this is going to be the service pension benefit. So this is basically for an individual that had acquired 25 up to 35 full years of service in the pension plan. And I know most people in this room probably had a little bit of service in the pension plan, but most of your career was in the full-time plan. But essentially, same scenario, as it relates to the particular service threshold, you have to have at least 25 years of service credit. So meaning you have to have 25 years in which you worked 750 hours. This particular plan is a little bit different from the IBT. It doesn't consider the weeks, how the IBT plan considers service pension credit. This plan is service credit only. And then towards the bottom, you have the partial service pension, which I think I explained a little bit earlier, but it's essentially the same calculation that we will follow for a partial service pension for the IBT plan. So in this example, this individual has 8 years in the pension plan, 23 years in the IBT plan for 31 years of combined service. So we would calculate the benefit 8 divided by 30 because that's the particular threshold of this individual or that particular service pension threshold, times that by 2,100 to give the person a benefit amount of $560. And this is the part-time IBT benefit rate. So as of 8/1/2023, the rate increased from $60 to $65. Any questions so far? All right, so the next slide here, or the next couple of slides, we're going to just kind of discuss the retirement process. So essentially, if a person is looking to retire, what they will want to do is reach out to our group at least 60 to 90 days prior to the first payment date. So what that means is if you're going to be terminating And let's use the example of someone terminated at the end of March. And if you want your benefit to start in April, we would have expected you all to reach out to us as early as February. So you want to reach out to the retirement department at least 60 to 90 days prior to your benefit start date. So this is the process that a person would follow if they don't have access to the Retire Online tool, which we'll look through shortly. But essentially, you would basically complete this benefit request form, email the group retirement at UPS, decide on your date, complete the form, and we will mail you a paper application. This is the process that we prefer you not to follow, because this is if you do not have access to the retirement calculator. Most people in this room will have access to the retirement calculator, and it is honestly a quicker process if you utilize the retirement calculator and the Retire Online feature, which I'll talk through in more detail. But does anybody have any questions on this piece that may not be comfortable with utilizing the Retire Online feature? Okay.
Calculator exactly accurate for like the retirement date?
So
I mean, if you come to your 35 years of service, you got 5,300 at this date, is that exactly right?
yeah, so the retirement calculator is actually the same as that calculator we use to perform benefits. It's just the interface that you see is a little different from the interface that we see. But as far as the programming, the system, the functionality is the exact same. So for an individual that had been on a leave of absence anytime in the current year, and that is looking for a projection of service to get, in your example, to the 35 years, the person that's utilizing the retirement calculator, they're not going to be able to see that information, because the way that the functionality is set up is that we are unable to project service in certain situations. So if the person has returned back to work and has established a pattern of working and we receive payroll data, then the system would project out, but it's a very complex functionality. But for the most part, there's not going to be a projection of service on the retirement calculator. So most people are a little afraid when it comes to that, because if I think that I have 30 years, I'm getting to 35 years and I put in a date and I'm expecting that date to show 35 years of service and a $5,300 benefit, and it does not, then it becomes questionable. So we understand that. But what happened was, a while back, we had a very, I'll say, relaxed approach with calculating benefits and projecting service. And what was happening is that there was an overstatement of benefits, basically. So we were essentially telling people that they receive a certain amount when actually they wouldn't, because they didn't have the time, they didn't work the hours, and they didn't receive the service pension credit. So we had to come up with a more conservative approach, because we wanted to make sure that individuals had a more accurate purview when they were looking to retire. So the retirement calculator and the functionality for someone that has been on a leave of absence, it is very conservative, very conservative. But I guess on the flip side is that what will happen is that there is a benefit recalculation process. So what happens is, when the person decides they want to actually retire, and let's say that the system is showing you 34.5 years of service as of whatever your actual termination date is. What will happen is that after the person terminates and we receive final payroll data, and we're about 2 months behind with processing the payroll data, we will actually recalculate the benefit. And if there is an adjustment to the benefit payment, we will retroactively pay that person the increased amount back to their first payment date. So the participant will be made whole. Yes.
Are they ever gonna make this available, the calculator available for UPS cards? Because it's almost before to go on there and do it, but it refuses to be loaded for anybody that works for card services.
Anybody that works for what?
Card services?
Card services.
Card services.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Should be available to for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it should be available to actives and deferreds as well. And so we are making some updates to the functionality. We're actually going through that process now. So ultimately, we are going to figure out a way and work through so that the system will be more widespread. Yeah.
And,
Yeah, well, I know the retirement calculator was not around 20 years ago.
no, it's been around long.
Yeah, I think it's been around for like 5 or more, a little bit more than that. Yeah,
So you said you guys generally run about 2 months behind the payroll numbers that UPS provides you of actual hours of service and stuff. So on the payroll pension calculator that we have access online, so my years of service credit and my service pension credit numbers would not be quite up to date. If I look at, for me, it'd be about two months behind. So when I do projection, it does take that into account. This assumes that I work the hours for those 2 months and going forward.
as long as you have not been on a leave of absence. So here's an example. All of the information would essentially be available, and then there will be a last updated. So you'll see all of the data available through the last updates that we received from payroll.
And those numbers would be about 2 months behind, like you said.
Yes. And these are actual numbers, so this is not a calculation. If a calculation was performed, it would be a projection, as long as you have not been on leave of absence in the current year. Yes. It's going to be the same conservative approach, whether you use the retirement calculator or write into our group, it's going to be the same conservative approach. So what happens is that for a person that has been on a leave of absence, depending on the type of leave of absence, generally there's going to be credited service. But the system does the credited service calculation basically. So for a person that was on a short-term disability, that person could be entitled to 190 hours towards the service credit and up to 4 weeks of service pension credit. But that's going to be considered in the calculation, basically. Any other questions? Oh, in the back. And then you with the black jacket. Yes. Okay. Alex here. Okay, I thought I had a screenshot of it, but yes, it does. So the retirement calculator is gonna consider all of your service. And basically, it's gonna do the same calculation that would occur on the side of you were to send it into my group. So essentially, it's going to look at your pension plan service, look at your full-time IBT plan service, determine what is the highest benefit for you. And that is going to be the amount payable from both the pension plan as well as the IBT plan. It does. Yes, it does. And then also you have the ability to pull down the calculation worksheet. So if you were to perform a calculation on yourself, you would be able to see the breakdown between the service that you have in the IBT plan, the service that you have in the pension plan, as well as the calculations that are running in the background to produce your benefit result. Any other questions? All right, so this is essentially the Retire Online screenshot. I'm going to be finishing up in just a moment. But basically, if you were to retire online, you would go to the retirement calculator, select Retire Online, read through this information, make sure that you have everything updated in the system. Jumping ahead, this is just how the system looks once you start the Retire Online process. You'll see your personal data. Step 3 would actually be the pension calculation, which will show you the actual calculation and the benefit amount you're entitled to. Step 4 would be some regulatory legal documents that you would have to review and some disclaimers you would have to approve of. And then step 5 are going to be your pension options, which are where you actually select your optional form of payments. And then step 6 would be the review and submit. And then I have a screenshot here that shows someone that has actually completed the process, and it says your elections have been submitted. So there's going to be a confirmation statement that will print out. So you would sign that confirmation statement, submit any of your supporting documents and get that information back over to our team. We will commence the benefit for you. We will send you a copy of your award letter, and then you will go off into the sunset and wait for your first pension payment and enjoy life as a retired individual. So I know that I've been here. I have slight ADD myself. So do you all have any other questions? Yes.
First one was ours that's called number, and they said they send me stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I never have it got it.
Okay.
So should I go online then, do the online process?
Well, I just want to make sure, someone told you they would send you a retirement application or a benefit request form?
I think it was couldn't say for sure, but someone else. I think it was the retirement, that's why I
Okay.
said the retired.
Are you full-time IBT only? Do you have any other limitations, Quadro, anything like that? Or you're a business agent at any time? Okay, so you should be able to use the retirement calculator. There's no reason. You have the online one. You just go to UPS and search retirement calculator, and you should be able to use that. From what I'm hearing, there's no reason why you can't retire online. It's a much quicker and efficient process. You can speak to me after. I can do some research on that because I'm concerned as well. However, I can tell you retire online is so much faster. There's like a 2 to 3 day turnaround time. Waiting for the processors, it may be up to a 10 to 15 day turnaround time. Yes. Absolutely, yeah, as long as you were not a part of a splinter group. So if you were, UPS pension plan, no splinter group, like carded services, then you can utilize retire online. Yes. That's your payment start date. So what you would do is enter in your termination date as well as when you want your benefits to start. Right. Yeah. Okay. So the situation that you're describing, it seems like that you're going to be terminating mid-month, right? So you're going to be active within a month. So we can use the example of March. You're working through today in March. And so when you want your benefit to start, in this example, you're going to use April 1st because you cannot receive retiree payment and active payment within the same month. I mean, I'm going to assume, yes, I can't speak for the insurance because you've been active within that month. Yeah. Your retirement date is going to be the first of the month following your termination. So your payment start date is going to be the first of the month following your termination. It's looking for the termination date, so the date you're going to stop working, and then the date that you want your benefit to start. So there's some weird examples where some individuals may not want to receive their payment immediately. So they may actually, so they may ask they may want to delay their payment by a couple of months. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned and your pension is concerned, you're going to, in this example, receive your benefit payment on April 1. Yes. Yeah, so it actually depends on what your service is. and what your highest benefit amount is. So if you have a service pension and you've reached a specific age and a service pension threshold, it doesn't make a difference. But if you are under the normal accrual and you have at least 20 years of service credit under the Central States Plan, and you have accrued some benefit under the IBT plan, basically it does matter, because in this example, you could receive your benefit payment at age 62 with no reductions. So it just it's kind of specific to the individuals based on what the profile looked like and if they have reached certain service thresholds. Yes.
If you've been off on disability for the past year, and haven't worked a single hour in 2024, are you still eligible for the current rates? You have to work an hour.
So I'll answer that example in this way. It really depends on if you've exhausted the generation of hours that you would be entitled to receive. So basically, in this scenario, you're saying you've been out on leave for the entire, or a person for the entire 2023. So I'm going to assume that you're going to exhaust, and is it a short term or a? Yeah, so for a short-term disability, an individual is only entitled to 190 hours for service credit and 4 weeks for a service pension credit. So that wouldn't get an individual any service in 2024 if the person does not return back to work.
Not worried about return to work. I would have been getting 4,300 under this new contract. Under the old contract, it's over 1,000.
You have to have, yeah, right, but you have to have an hour of service after 1/1/2024. So that's why I was using the example. If a person had been on a workers' comp and had not exhausted all the leave time in 2023, then it's very possible that they were to receive some deemed hours in 2024. And that person would have had an hour of service as of 1/1/2024. So I think it's the hour of service.
You can do it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yes.
Nope. Nope. We have sick time through the state now as a benefit.
Okay.
But no, it would not.
Does vacation time count towards those hours?
Yes, it does.
750 is
Mhm.
or was it 1250?
Yes, vacation time counts. Any other questions? All right, yes.
We've had a lot.
I knew I could depend on you.
Yeah. For a lot of people. We have a lot of employees that were recently hired, 2020, 2021, you know, they got what, 3, 4, 5 years in, and they were, hired later in life. So some of these, employees might reach age 67 or so with only 6, 7 years of service. Is there, what kind of pension would they expect out of that? Because obviously most of our numbers are based on 20, 25, 30 years. Is there idea that, hey, I'm gonna get a pension check because I put in 6 years and I'm 68, is that unrealistic?
Based on the example you're sharing, I'm going to say that their benefit is going to be postponed retirement. So it's really going to be based on the accrual. So as of now, it'll be 185 times the 5 or 6 or whatever you just shared.
But do they have a minimum of 5 years to get it?
It's 5 years, 5 years of participate. Yeah, so it's gonna basically be the age or 5 years of participation. So in some examples, some individuals may not meet the 750 hours, so it could be the 5 years of participation because they have been employed after normal retirement age in your example. Right?
That last part again.
Okay, so in the example that you just shared,
Yeah.
because the 5-year vesting rule is basically you're entitled and vested to receive a benefit, but you have to work 750 hours. So there are some scenarios where individuals don't work 750 hours, but we're not going to hold that against them. So the rule is basically you have to have the 5 years of vesting and or 5 years of participation if you're beyond normal retirement age. So that person would be vested to receive the benefit because they would have the 5 years of participation if they don't work the hours. Yes,
Full-time years. What's the part-time years? I have. I'll do it. Every part-time period. So we have 7 years. Part-time. 33 full-time years next month. So 8 years part-time. I know the other.
yeah, so if you. Mhm.
Way short of what I thought.
Yes, so it all depends on if you actually were a participant in the pension plan. So if you're saying that you did a calculation and it wasn't what you expected it to be, it may be that you didn't meet participation in the pension plan. Have you used the calculator? Did you see any service for pension plan? Okay. Uh-huh. Let me talk, because that's more specific, so I'll chat with you afterwards. All right, well, I definitely appreciated your time and hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right. All right. So wealth of information that you have received this morning and early this afternoon. Just everybody ready to retire tomorrow? Check the box Monday. All right. All right. Just want to thank the speakers. Qantas, Mike, where's Stuart back in the back room there. And like I said, these folks came from out of town, Chicago, from Atlanta, from up in Duluth. So just want to thank them. And I want to one more time thank Trevor for putting these things together for the last. All right. All right. Trevor's not done yet.
No. Just one quick thing, I was remiss, I want to send, sorry, excuse me. General President Sean O'Brien and the General Secretary Treasurer send their greetings to you. Because of them that we were able to hold this out here. And we also want to thank Tom Erickson from Local 120. He's also the Regional Vice President. But again, greetings from our General President, Sean O'Brien, and Secretary Treasurer Zuckerman. Thank you all. Thanks.